Nation in Conversation, taking you on a journey through the South African countryside. Proudly sponsored by Monsanto, Nedbank and Senves, in association with Hinterland and NWK.
Hello and welcome to Nation in Conversation. Over the last 3 months, we've travelled the countryside of South Africa and explored the many tourism gems the country has to offer. Week after week, we discovered the critical role played by many agricultural industries in South Africa. Our journey was an exploration of 12 key industries in the country: wine, fruit, sheep, milk, ostrich, poultry, vegetables, game, beef, sugar, potatoes and maize. This is what you can look forward to in today's program.
We start the program by revisiting some of the remarkable tourist destinations we visited in the Western Cape, with a special focus on the contributions of the wine and fruit industries to the economy and local communities. Chris Burgess then joins me in studio to give his insights on the industry. And we bring you some highlights of the incredible initiatives undertaken by producers in the country. We also look at some of the challenges that producers have to overcome. The Nation in Conversation team's journey started off in Wellington, a tourism paradise. Apart from its breathtaking flowers and scenery surrounded by mountains, rivers and valleys, visitors can enjoy world-class wine estates in the new heart of the Cape wine route. It is this very industry that forms the core of the local economy. Our tour of the region included visits to Bosman Family Vineyards and Dimmersfontein, as well as the James Sedgwick Distillery. Apart from the direct spin-offs of job creation and income generated through tourism, this industry does amazing work to support art and music with a focus on local talent. Wellington, with its world-class wines and of course its well-made whiskies, is certainly worth a visit. Did you know the Wellington region is responsible for approximately 85% of all vines in South Africa? Back on the road, the team set off for the orchards in Ceres. This certainly is another industry that has the most amazing stories to tell. To gain more insight into the agricultural sector's contribution to the economy and local communities, we visited the De Toy Group as well as De Keur. Together, these two businesses employ thousands of people. But that is not all. Schooling, creches, aftercare facilities, medical care, daily meals and housing all form part of their contributions to the communities that play a part in the success and sustainability of their businesses. We visited Pieter De Toy, Managing Director of the De Toy Group.
The Toy Group produces roughly 250,000 tons of products per year. We employ about 8,000 people in high season, of about 4,500 permanent employed. Workers is very important in our lives. My grandfather started the philosophy that the worker needs to live in a safe home and need a good night's rest in order to do a physical job the next day. Because most of our job in the orchards and the fields are physical jobs. So, as you can see in the background, the housing is good houses. But apart from that, we also need to look at the children, because most mothers and fathers are working in daytime, so we've got creches on the farms.
At the Tweet Agri, they give us homes that anyone can just dream of. Most of the people just dreamed of. We have a school, All our children, they walk to the school, no transport is needed. Parents work without any worries about their children. The Tweet Agri invest in their people. They help building their life skills. They really improve in our quality of life. They build us, they enrich us our lives, and we are proud to be the Tweet members.
Apart from that, we need to do land reform, and we need to build black entrepreneur farmers in this area. So we, in this area, has got what we refer to as the PALS project, Partnership in Agricultural Land Solutions. Commercial farmers support this project and has presented 103 projects, of which 5 is already up and running. 15 we expect within the next 12 months, which will bring a huge transformation in the Witzenberg area.
At the De Keur Group, we spoke to Danelle de Toy to find out more about their farming operation in the Ceres Valley.
The De Keur Group is divided into 3 businesses. We've got the production unit that is responsible for all of the production of our vegetables and fruit on the various farms. We have a packing company that is responsible for the packaging of our fruit and vegetables. And we also have a marketing company that is responsible for marketing our fruit to our end consumer. We've got approximately 700 permanent workers in the 3 companies. We have about 500 to 550 live on the farm, so the communities on our farms, and that is where we will focus most of our attention from a community perspective. We have got various sports that the workers participate in. They have got a domino club, we have got a rugby team, the Lovedales, which is quite successful of late. From an early age, we accommodate the kids that live on the farm in a creche. So we've got about 40 kids that currently is in the creche from the age of 6 months through to the age of 5 years. And then we also have an aftercare centre where kids are assisted with homework as well as provided with additional stimulation.
Did you know? Despite not receiving any subsidies, South African commercial producers compete successfully on the world market stage. Wine, flowers, citrus and deciduous fruit are some of our most important export products.
What an incredible journey. After the break, Chris Burgess from Landbou Weekblad joins us again, this time for an overview of the South African agricultural industry. Do not miss his insights. Welcome back to Nation in Conversation. Agricultural issues affect all of us day to day. Remember to make your opinion count and join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter. Of course, this series would not have been possible without the collaboration of our partners.
Senves, Monsanto and Nedbank, in association with Hinterland, NWK, powered by Imperial Isuzu.
Thank you to our valued partners for your contribution to this series. With me is Chris Burgess from Landbou Weekblad. Welcome, Chris, and thanks for joining us again. South Africa is a really important country agriculturally. How do we compare to the rest of the world, especially outside of Africa?
Well, I mean, if you look at our export products, I mean, we produce world-class products. Otherwise, the export markets wouldn't be taking them. I mean, you look at wool, citrus, nuts. We compare with the best in the world. You know, there's always the joke that we would be able to farm in the US, but the US maize farmers wouldn't be able to farm here. So, you know, really world-class operations that we run in South Africa.
How does technology, now speaking of world-class operations, how does technology contribute to the production of affordable, adequate food and fibre?
Well, it's quite interesting. I mean, the fact that we aren't subsidized means that our margins are quite thin. So farmers are continually looking for efficiencies, and you get everything from mechanization to biotechnology to precision farming, where the inputs get cut down to the absolute minimum, where you put down exactly the right fertilizers or you feed the exact right nutrients at the right time to animals. Our measurements are getting better, so we're breeding animals that convert feed into meat more efficiently. And then we're also looking at biological processes a lot closer. You look at minimum tillage, where you build up the soils and where your natural processes actually have manage to cut down your inputs, and you get your natural processes to be more productive. So I mean, this is a continual ongoing thing, trying to cut down your input costs.
Agriculture and land are inextricably linked, and land reform is such a political and emotional issue. So what is the agricultural sector doing to bridge that gap and bring a sense of togetherness among producers and the land reform question?
Well, I mean, agriculture has actually got a wonderful story to tell. And I mean, our biggest success stories in land reform and the establishment of black commercial farmers is actually driven by commercial agriculture. I mean, you look at the communal wool farmers in the former homelands like the Transkei and the Ciskei. I mean, these are guys that are locked into a world-class supply chain and that are earning hundreds of millions of rands producing an export product. You look at sugarcane, it's a hardy crop being produced by 24,000 communal farmers. You look at Amatlelo Agri. So the point I'm trying to make is that agriculture, commercial agriculture, they have the know-how how to do it.
Thank you. Before we continue, let's have a look at our amazing agricultural industry.
After our visit to the Western Cape, we took the road to the Eastern Cape, well known for the dairy industry. Apart from the fact that the number of dairy producers has decreased significantly over recent years, this industry is still going from strength to strength. We were amazed at the initiatives undertaken by local producers to assist new farmers and to benefit their employees. One such initiative is the Rebokrant Dairy Development Trust. The Roosenhof Dairy Farm outside Humansdorp was one of the founding members, together with 5 other farms in the area. This project was founded with the sole purpose to empower farm workers. Many of the employees at Roosenhof are beneficiaries of this trust. We spoke to Justin Miller, the production manager at Rebokrant, to find out more about this project.
Rebokrant Dairy Development Trust started in February 2006. What happened was it was 7 commercial farmers that bought a farm, this current farm, and they all put in a couple of employees that added up, I think it was 200 or 109 employees, and they called the Workers' Trust. And then the commercial farmers, they the Dairy Trust. And then obviously the farm is the Dairy Development Trust.
The past 10 years, I was the chairman of the Workers' Trust and the Rebokrant. But now it means a lot for the company and the people who's involved there, because there's the workers and the farm owners in there. So we are partly owner of the farm, and now almost every year we get something in. So the community get extra money from the project, and more we go on, we learn more about the business side of the project. And on that, per year, we're getting around 22,000 from the project. As the time goes on, every year it's getting more and more, so there's more money for us.
Well, in the beginning, I'd say the biggest concern or problem was the trust relationship between the 2 trusts. That was a big issue, but from day 1 to now, 10 years later, there's a strong trust relationship between the 2 trusts, and it has grown over the years. And we look forward to the next 10 years and to start another project based on the same principle.
Did you know? Agriculture is key to the government's new growth path, a plan to create 5 million new jobs by 2020. This includes the promotion of commercial agriculture among small-scale farmers and land reform.
Absolutely incredible to see the initiatives undertaken across many agricultural industries in South Africa with growth, sustainability and upliftment firmly in mind. After the break, we will continue our discussion with Chris. Welcome back to Nation in Conversation. With me is Chris Burgess. Chris, South Africa has such a great story to tell in terms of farming, especially with game farming. How is game farming contributing to sustainable farming practices in the country?
Well, firstly, game farming has brought a whole lot of marginal land back into production that you can't actually farm profitably with cattle. Or any livestock, and then I mean, just from a conservation perspective, you know, if it wasn't for game farming, we wouldn't have the bontebok, we wouldn't have the Cape Mountain zebra. So there are a whole lot of species that are being conserved because of game farming. And today we have double the amount of game numbers in private hands than you do in game parks.
Being a producer isn't always easy, so how can agriculture actually be improved, and can the state do anything to help?
Well, you know, on the state side, you know, I mean, there's certain things that farmers simply can't do. You know, I mean, we need to develop export markets. We need to get our animal health protocols sorted out now, and animal health problems in the country sorted out, water rights, that sort of thing. You know, on the other hand, from the producer side, agriculture is one of the few industries that can still absorb semi-skilled labor. Agriculture is the only significant economic activity in many parts of our country. And then, you know, farmers can be key with in terms of land reform, because farmers know how to make money in the rural areas. So if farmers, producers, and the state could find common ground, I mean, I really do think we could turn this country around in a matter of years.
Thank you. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from this series.
Throughout this series, we have heard the awe-inspiring stories of the significant role the agricultural sector plays in the economy, as well as in local communities. The industry does, however, face very real challenges. One of these is the crisis reigning in the poultry industry. Our discussion with Kevin Lovell from the South African Poultry Association puts the issue of dumping into perspective.
You know, our farmers generally are highly ranked all over the world, and the poultry industry in this country has been very strong. So what has suddenly happened to the point that we are now in this panic crisis mode?
What happened is democracy, actually, because all the problems that the poultry industry have come from the trade agreements that we made as a country, as we opened up to the world and said, let's be friends, let's work together. Yeah. And those agreements that we made were almost exclusively very bad for the poultry industry, because globally agriculture is distorted. Globally, the poultry market is worse than distorted. It's like a time warp. It's so off-center. And that's really the problem, is that we're suffering an unintended consequence of us opening up to the world and believing that our trading partners would treat us decently. Trade isn't about decency, it's about money. And money doesn't normally smell so good, but you can do lots of things with it,
but
and that's what it's
people
about.
might say, hey, wake up, South Africa, compete.
Well, that's the interesting part, is that if you compare us to the European Union, and they're the ones giving us the hard time at the moment. Look, somebody else could give us a hard time. Yeah. One of their own universities, a Dutch university, University of Aachen, says that we can produce slaughtered whole birds for between 20 and 40% less than any of the EU countries they survey. In other words, logic tells you have to have a whole dead chicken before you can have pieces of a chicken. Therefore, pieces of a chicken will cost more than a whole bird. Why are they exporting? Because they dump. Why do they dump? Because they don't eat all the parts of a chicken. They're unbalanced. I mean, not as a nation or nations, but in terms of their diet.
Did you know? The South African poultry industry provides work to some 130,000 people. There is another sector that also faces very real challenges, the game industry. Considering that there are 10,000 privately owned game farms in South Africa that house 12 million wild animals across 20 million hectares, This is an industry that contributes significantly to the local economy, especially through hunting and tourism. Unfortunately, one of our big five animals is in grave danger. We visited the biggest rhino farmer in the world, John Hume, that homes more than 1,000 rhinos on his farm near Gravelot. He highlighted the fact that rhinos are endangered because they are worth more dead than alive. It certainly is worth paying attention to, a very viable option to save the species.
It makes no commercial sense whatsoever to breed with rhinos. That is the biggest reason why the rhino is a loser, is because the world does not see that it could actually be one of the most profitable animals for people to breed with. It could be. If we were entitled to utilize the horn at what we think is a market value, rhinos would be a more profitable animal to breed than most other animals that we are breeding. One of the best ways to improve our rhino breeding in the future would be to allow our communities to be rhino owners and breeders. The communities have a vast amount of land. They are looking for an income. In general, they are very poor people. But under the current circumstances, there's absolutely no sense in trying to make a community into a rhino breeder or custodian, because you can make no money out of it. He's going to be the first one to poach his own rhino. It's madness. However, let us get to where we can use the horn and we can empower our communities with rhinos. A community with about 40 rhinos will definitely build its clinic, build its school from the 40 rhinos. It will get a much bigger income from its rhinos than it gets from its cattle. With regard to fulfilling the demand, I simply do not understand or accept the argument of people who say we will never fill the demand. The government has about 22 ton of rhino horn in stock. I have 6 ton in stock. There are over 300 other commercial farmers who own rhino. Commercial farmers alone own over 6,000 rhino in this country. So if we used our stockpiles to feed into the market for the next 5 or 6 years, whilst we built up our numbers, unlike currently where we are breaking the numbers of rhinos down, whilst we built up our rhinos, we will be able to supply that market.
Did you know game ranching in South Africa is said to be a $2 billion industry, with hunting and ecotourism the main contributors? One thing that has been highlighted throughout this series is the will, passion and tenacity of South African producers. Apart from policy and legislative issues they face, there are also the recent drought that had a very real impact on operations, as well as rising input costs and other challenges. Through all of this, however, like Chris rightly pointed out, a boer maak 'n plan.
It is with good reason that South Africa has some of the best producers in the world. Chris, in closing, why should we as consumers take an interest in what's happening in the agricultural sector?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer would be that our producers produce affordable, healthy food. But I mean, it goes far beyond that. I mean, agriculture is not only the producer on the farm producing food. I mean, there's a whole supply chain that sits behind the producer. So you've got agribusiness, you've got the processors, you've got the transport companies, you've got the retailers. So agriculture is sort of the heartbeat of the economy in many respects. And I mean, the job creation opportunities all down this value chain is enormous. So when you're eating a tomato, it's not just a tomato. There's a whole industry around that tomato that's creating value, creating wealth, employing people, and contributing to a meaningful economic activity where there wouldn't be anything if you didn't have that industry.
Thank you so much, Chris. Your weekly insights have definitely given me a better understanding of what's happening in the agricultural sector.
Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you for joining us on our journey through South Africa. Remember to join the conversation. Exercise your rights as consumer. It affects us all. Please remember to visit our website regularly for upcoming events and news on the industry. www.nationinconversation.co.za. From me, goodbye.
Nation in Conversation, taking you on a journey through the South African countryside. Proudly sponsored by Monsanto, Nedbank and Senves, in association with Hinterland and NWK.